Welcome back to the channel, Coins Collector everyone. Today we're diving into an incredible story from the world of coin collecting, something that's got collectors buzzing, and it's not every day we get to talk about a humble 1-cent coin potentially worth more than $25,000. That's right. A coin with a face value of just a single penny, specifically, a 2000 Lincoln Liberty 1-cent coin from the United States, has been discovered with such a unique set of errors and characteristics that it's commanding insane values on the collector market. Now if you're thinking, how can a coin that I might have used to buy a stick of gum be worth the price of a new car? Well, you're not alone. It's a question many people are asking, especially as more stories emerge about lucky individuals discovering these coins hiding in pocket change, in old piggy banks, or tucked away in forgotten drawers. What makes this particular penny so valuable isn't made of gold or silver, and it wasn't created as a limited edition. The truth is even more fascinating. It's all about mint errors, production flaws, and die varieties that make these seemingly ordinary coins into extraordinary treasures. So let's begin by talking about the basic coin in question, the 2000 Lincoln Liberty 1-cent coin. This penny features the familiar profile of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, or front, of the coin, just as it has since 1909 when the design was first introduced to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. On the reverse, in the year 2000, you'll see the Lincoln Memorial, a design that had been used since 1959 to celebrate Lincoln's 150th birthday. These are very common coins, with billions minted in the year 2000 alone across 3 different U.S. mint locations, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. But what separates the valuable versions from the regular pocket change is a combination of error types and die varieties that appeared during the minting process. One of the most significant and rarest issues with these 2000 Liberty cents is related to the doubling effect. This error is known as a doubled die. It occurs when the die used to strike the coin has a design that was accidentally impressed twice with a slight misalignment. This results in visible doubling of certain parts of the coin, most often seen in the date, the word Liberty, or the phrase, "In God We Trust." When this doubling is especially clear and dramatic, the value of the coin can skyrocket. Collectors love doubled dies because they are unmistakable and were created at the mint, not something caused by post-mint damage or where, for example, in some 2000 pennies, the word Liberty appears to have been struck twice, with each letter slightly overlapping. The same effect may be found on Lincoln's eye or jawline, giving a shadowed, almost ghost-like appearance. If you're lucky enough to find a coin like this in near-perfect condition, meaning very little wear and sharp details, it could be worth thousands. A high-grade specimen with this kind of double die error can sell at auction for over $25,000, and that's not an exaggeration. These coins have made headlines, especially when authenticated by major grading services like PCGS or NGC, but the story doesn't end there. Another fascinating category of errors that boost the value of these coins involves repunched mint marks. Back in 2000, the mint mark, typically a small D for Denver or S for San Francisco, was still being hand-punched onto the working dies at some facilities. When the punch wasn't aligned correctly the first time, or when it was accidentally struck twice in slightly different positions, the result was a repunched mint mark, or RPM. These can be hard to see without magnification, but for collectors, they're like buried treasure. A penny with a repunched mint mark might have the D slightly doubled or showing a faint shadow of a second mark underneath the first. This kind of error increases a coin's rarity, especially when found on a coin with no other defects. Then there's the off-center strike error, where the design of the coin is noticeably shifted away from the center, often leaving a blank crescent of copper on one side. The more dramatic the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin tends to be, especially if all of the date is still visible. Some collectors prize coins with 10%, 30%, even 50% off-center strikes. A 2000 penny with a 50% off-center strike and clear date could bring in hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially in uncirculated condition. Let's not forget about broad-struck coins. These errors occur when the coin is struck without the collar that normally keeps the coin in its proper shape. The result is a coin that is slightly larger in diameter than normal and may have a somewhat warped appearance. Because these are also minting errors, they're of interest to error coin collectors and can fetch a premium on the secondary market. Another fascinating category is die cracks and cuds. A die crack occurs when a minting die develops a fracture due to stress. When this die strikes a coin, it leaves a raised line or area where the crack was. A cud is even more dramatic. It's when a piece of the die actually breaks off, leaving a large, unstruck blob or area on the coin. While die cracks and cuds are less rare than double dies, they are still collectible, particularly when they occur in prominent areas or are unusually shaped. Some cuds can cover Lincoln's face or obscure part of the lettering, creating a coin with a truly one-of-a-kind look. Now here's something that really catches people off guard: coins that were struck on the wrong planchet. A planchet is the blank piece of metal that gets stamped into a coin. Sometimes, due to human or machine error, a penny can be struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, like a dime or even a foreign coin. These are called wrong planchet errors. Imagine finding a 2000 Lincoln penny that's the size, weight, and color of a dime, but clearly has penny designs. That kind of error doesn't just raise eyebrows, it raises auction paddles. These are very rare but have sold for tens of thousands of dollars in high-grade condition. One of the more unusual 2000 penny errors that has come to light involves transitional planchet errors. These occur when a coin is struck on leftover stock from a previous composition. While this was more common in years like 1982, when the U.S. Mint switched from copper to zinc core planchets, it's possible, though rare, for 2000 dated coins to have been struck on leftover stock due to inventory mix-ups or machinery errors. If authenticated, such a coin could be extremely valuable, especially if it weighs slightly more or less than standard. We also can't leave out the famous floating roof error. This one isn't an error in the strictest sense, it's more of a die deterioration issue, but collectors still pay premiums for it. On the reverse of the penny, look at the Lincoln Memorial. In some examples, especially from worn or overused dies, the ends of the roof do not connect to the columns, making it appear as if the roof is floating above the structure. While not worth $25,000 by itself, when combined with other errors or found in pristine condition, it can help increase the coin's value. Now imagine a coin that has not one, but several of these issues: a double die obverse, a repunched mint mark, struck off-center, and on a transitional planchet. The odds of this happening are astronomical, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. In fact, coins with multiple minting errors are highly sought after because they represent a perfect storm of mistakes, a kind of symphony of minting mishaps that create an object of fascination for collectors and historians alike. Condition, or grade, also plays a massive role in determining the value of these coins. A 2000 Liberty 1-cent coin with a dramatic error might be worth a few $100s in circulated condition, but if it's found in mint state or proof condition, especially if it's been graded MS 67 or higher by a reputable service, the price can jump dramatically. The reason is simple: rarity is enhanced by quality. The better the preservation, the fewer like it exist. So what should you do if you think you found a 2000 Liberty penny with one of these errors? First, don't clean it. Cleaning can damage the surface and destroy its value. Next, examine the coin closely using a magnifier or jeweler's loupe. Look for doubling, check the mint mark, see if the coin looks off-center, and weigh it if possible. Then consider sending it to a professional grading service for authentication. Even if it doesn't turn out to be the rarest of the rare, you could still have something worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, and that's not a bad return for a penny. Today's video, where we uncover the incredible story behind one of the most surprising and valuable coins to ever come out of everyday circulation, the 2014 Lincoln Liberty 1-cent coin. Believe it or not, this tiny copper-plated zinc piece, with a face value of just 1 cent, has been known to fetch as much as $5,000 among collectors. That's right, $5,000 for a penny that you might overlook in your change jar. So what makes this particular coin so valuable? What kinds of errors and oddities drive its price up thousands of times above its original worth? Let's dive deep into the world of rare modern coinage and explore how the 2014 D penny earned its place among the elite of U.S. minting mistakes. First, let's set the scene with a basic overview of the 2014 Lincoln cent. This penny, like all those minted after 2010, features the Union Shield reverse design. That shield design was introduced as a replacement for the Lincoln bicentennial reverses used in 2009. On the obverse, we still have Abraham Lincoln, who has graced the front of the penny since 1909, the 100th anniversary of his birth. The D Mint mark under the date stands for the Denver Mint, one of the primary facilities where U.S. coins are made. Under normal circumstances, a 2014 D penny isn't worth more than its face value. But the coin we're talking about today isn't normal. It's part of a group of rare errors and unusual varieties that managed to escape the Mint's tight quality control. And in the world of numismatics, the study and collection of currency, errors are often like buried treasure. Not all errors are valuable, of course. Some are so minor they barely move the needle. But others, particularly the ones that are visible, dramatic, and rare, can make a huge difference. And the 2014 D penny is no exception. Let's start by examining the known errors that have been found in these coins. One of the most sought-after types of mint errors involves doubled dies. This happens when the die that stamps the image into the coin receives a misaligned second impression during its creation. If this defective die is used in production, it can result in coins with doubled images, especially around the letters and numbers. Some 2014 D Lincoln cents have been found with strong doubling on the date and the inscriptions, such as Liberty and In God We Trust. These double die obverse, DDO, errors are dramatic enough that they can be spotted with the naked eye or under slight magnification, the kind of error collectors love. Another known error involves the coin's reverse, the Union Shield. There have been reports of reverse doubling as well, especially around the vertical stripes of the shield or the inscription, 1 cent. This kind of doubling, known as double die reverse, DDR, is much rarer on 2014 D cents but even more valuable when discovered. A coin with doubling on both sides is extremely unusual, and such a find can command thousands of dollars depending on the clarity and prominence of the doubling, but die doubling isn't the only error that adds value to this coin. Another issue arises from off-center strikes. In this type of error, the blank planchet, the piece of metal used to strike the coin, isn't properly aligned within the coin press. As a result, part of the design is missing and the coin looks dramatically off-centered. The more off-center the strike, and the more visible the date and mint mark, the more valuable the coin becomes. Some 2014 D Lincoln cents have been discovered with severe off-center strikes of 50% or more, and these specimens have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Another highly prized error is the broad strike. This occurs when the collar, the part of the coin press that keeps the coin's edge intact and properly shaped, malfunctions or is missing. Without the collar to contain the metal, the coin spreads out wider than normal during the striking process. The result is a coin that looks oversized and often lacks a defined rim. Broad-struck 2014 D pennies are rare, and if they also include visible doubling or other errors, their value can skyrocket. Let's talk about another category that drives up the worth of coins: wrong planchet errors. This is when a coin is struck on a blank meant for a different denomination. For example, a Lincoln cent might be struck on a blank intended for a dime. Since dimes are made of a different metal and are smaller in size, this mistake results in a penny that looks completely unusual. These kinds of errors are extremely rare but not unheard of. In fact, there have been cases of pennies struck on dime planchets or even foreign coin blanks. If a 2014 D penny were discovered on the wrong planchet, it would instantly become one of the most valuable modern errors out there, possibly fetching several $1,000s at auction. But the real twist comes with some of the rarer and more mysterious errors that aren't yet fully catalogued or understood. Some collectors and experts believe that a small handful of 2014 D pennies may have unusual die breaks or retain die cut errors. Die breaks occur when a portion of the die used to strike the coin cracks or chips. This results in raised lines or blobs of metal on the finished coin. A retained cud is a type of die break where a portion of the coin shows a retained fragment, usually along the rim, giving it an unusual and noticeable deformity. When dramatic enough, these errors not only become collectible, but they also tell a story about the minting process itself and how even advanced machinery isn't immune to flaws. Let's not forget about transitional errors. These are coins that were struck using designs, compositions, or features from different years. One example from coin history is the 1982 small-date copper penny, a transitional piece between the old copper and new zinc-based designs. Although no confirmed transitional errors have been widely reported for 2014 D pennies, it's theoretically possible that a few coins could have been struck with dies or blanks from the wrong year. Should such a coin surface, it would become a major find in the numismatic community. Now, perhaps one of the biggest questions is, how do these coins get out into circulation in the first place? The U.S. Mint has an extensive quality control system, with thousands of coins inspected every day. But with the sheer volume of pennies being produced, we're talking billions annually, it's inevitable that some flawed coins slip through the cracks. A single unnoticed error on a die, a misfeed in the planchet loader, or a misaligned collar can result in dozens or even hundreds of faulty coins. And if those errors go undetected long enough, some of those coins end up in circulation or in mint rolls sold to collectors. That's how a few lucky individuals end up with a rare gem worth thousands, just by sorting through pocket change or unopened rolls from the bank. It's also worth considering how mint mark variations play a role. The D mint mark signifies the Denver Mint, but mint mark errors, such as repunched mint marks, RPMs, misplaced mint marks, MPMs, or even missing mint marks, are of great interest to collectors. On some 2014 D pennies, experts have found signs of repunching, where the mint mark appears to have been stamped more than once in slightly different positions. This type of variety isn't necessarily a mistake in the traditional sense, but it still counts as an error in the eyes of collectors. RPMs can significantly boost a coin's value, particularly when they are bold and easily visible. In addition to the mechanical and visual errors, rarity also plays a crucial role in determining value. Even if a coin has an obvious error, its value is directly tied to how many other similar examples are known to exist. A common error might be worth $10 or $20, but a one-of-a-kind or extremely rare error could be worth thousands. The most valuable 2014 D pennies are those that combine multiple error types, for example, a double die with an off-center strike and a repunched mint mark. When multiple layers of errors are found on the same coin, the value can increase exponentially, especially if the coin is in uncirculated or high mint state condition. Authentication and grading are also critical in establishing a coin's value. Professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC examine coins for authenticity and assign them a grade based on their condition. A 2014 D penny with rare errors and a high grade, such as MS 65 or higher, can command serious prices at auction. Collectors trust these grading services to verify both the coin's quality and its errors. Coins that have been slabbed and graded by these companies often sell for much more than ungraded coins, because buyers have the assurance of third-party verification, and this leads to one of the most fascinating aspects of this story. Some of these valuable error coins are still out there. Every time you get change from a store, sort through a coin jar, or open a fresh roll from the bank, you might be looking at a potential treasure. The 2014 D penny worth $5,000 didn't come from a vault or a high-end collector. It started out like every other penny, dropped in pockets, passed from hand to hand, unnoticed. It's the sharp eyes of collectors and enthusiasts that reveal these hidden gems.